I'm James Shillinglaw. I'm here today with a familiar face. We've interviewed him many times, Matthew Upchurch, who's chairman and CEO of Virtuoso. And we're here at the Virtuoso Symposium for the first time in Dubai. And we're going to talk to Matthew about, why we're in Dubai, what he thinks of Dubai, because everybody's talking about it here, and also some of the things he talked about at the symposium so far. And you'll find out about that and more on Insider Travel Report. Matthew, first of all, great to see you. Thank you for inviting me once again to this symposium. And I've been to Dubai, as you have, many times. But here we are. First of all, where are we? We're in this amazing suite at the Atlantis the Royal, right?
Yeah, we're at the beautiful new Atlantis the Royal. It's basically just about to be a year old, and really quite an amazing project. It's not only architecturally stunning, like when you see the pictures of it, you're like, ooh, that's interesting. Yeah. But I think the thing that is amazing is the choice here. I mean, the first Nobu Beach Club, all the famous chefs that have outlets here, from Nobu to Jose Andres, Blumenthal, Heston, all these different, Jose Andres, amazing. But also, I just need to say, Tom Rowlands, who's the managing director, who's in charge of this, that's what I think is so special, because he's infused a personal approach that you can feel in all of his employees. So it's a real testament to his leadership and what I think is the best of hospitality, when you can have such a beautiful infrastructure, but then really feel a genuine and authentic service and care and loving what they're doing here with the entire team.
Which is really essential for luxury, and it is, and people are calling this another 6-star resort or something. And you were actually here for the opening with Beyonce, right?
Yeah, we was here for the reveal. It was the grand opening, the reveal, which was amazing to watch her come out of the fountain here. It's amazing. I've never seen so many influencers and people in my life. In fact, this particular suite, I think, was Kylie Jenner or something like that, was in here. But what's interesting is that they expected to get maybe 1 or 2 billion impressions from that reveal. 55 billion impressions.
That's pretty astounding with Beyonce.
So obviously they know what they're doing.
Well, all I can say is that you remember this is because I Facebook messaged you, and I said, and I was here. I was just down the beach, and I said, Matthew, get me in, and you said, I can't. The security is incredible. There's no way to go. But I'm glad you had a great time. I saw the fireworks from a distance, so I knew you were having a good time.
That was one of the most amazing fireworks displays I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, a lot of fun. But it also goes to the point of why we're here, right? I mean, obviously Dubai has really become a epicenter of luxury and development. I think the thing that is really interesting, I was here 20 years ago. 10 years ago, we had our chairman's trip here.
I remember that.
Right? Then we were here here for the reveal, but it's really interesting. I think the thing that I talked to yesterday, Mr. Hassan, from the CEO of Dubai Tourism, is that this has also become a place where people actually want to move to.
Yeah, which is amazing. I was here 15, 20 years ago, and we had a big expat community, but you didn't think about moving here. I saw some potential, but you're right. Now people are actually moving here, right?
Yeah, and you can really feel that. And if you think about, obviously, you think of Emirates Airlines, the hub that they are. I mean, we were joking that, you look at the Dubai airport today, right? I mean, it's pretty darn beautiful. Yeah. And they're going to shut it down and build one that's 5 times bigger.
I heard that yesterday. I was like, what? But they also said we are a hub. We are a center of transport and trade and everything else. So that's why they're doing it. But you can't even conceive of an airport that way. Somebody said, why can't they move the old airport back to one of our places in the U.S.?
Can we borrow it? Can we put it in L.A. or something?
I know, that's a pretty good. I think you said that, and it was amazing. But yeah, so Dubai really has become really one of the center of the universes, and for luxury, because I mean, almost every luxury brand I can think of is here, right?
Yeah, and it's a global hub, but also very much a regional hub as well. And I think and a lot of organizations, have headquartered their here for this region with all the growth that's going on. We ourselves are here, obviously, for the fact that we have so many great partners that have a lot of inventory and a lot of new projects coming here. We had an incredible opening night with one and only. This is obviously a Kerzner property as well. We had an amazing party last night with Jumeirah. But many of our partners have projects here, but they also are expanding, obviously, into Saudi Arabia and other parts of the Middle East. This is really becoming the hub for this whole region. But also, we were here. We had 12 prospects from the Middle East region. We've just added a general manager for Virtuoso.
I know very well Bridget McDonald, who is most likely recently we also were in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, so she moved from Riyadh here to Dubai for now, and we're going to make sure that it was very exciting to have a meeting in this room yesterday with 12 prospects from the region, from UAE, from Saudi, from Kuwait, from Bahrain, from Oman. And it was fun to see. It's funny, we always think about the differences, but when you start to get to that, the evolution of the trusted travel advisor and what we're doing, it was really interesting to see how quickly we could connect on some of the opportunities, particularly in the age of AI. What comes next for the trusted travel advisor in the age of AI.
Well, it's interesting. We'll talk about that in a second, but you have about 400 people here, I think you said, and obviously this is a region that is amazing down here. We have some challenges up a little north of us. Was there any kind of trepidation about coming here at this time? I think you told me actually no, you were oversubscribed and you had to turn people away, right?
Yeah, we actually because of the ratios that we want to keep and the venues, we actually had more demand than we had. Than we had opportunity.
Well, the destination is certainly a very attractive to people who have not been here. And I actually was surprised at how many people hadn't been here. Yeah. You and I have been here a few times, and I'm sure, but not everybody has been to Dubai or any of the UAE countries.
Yeah. No, or they hadn't been in a long time.
Right. Which actually, you're a long time, and they'll build a couple islands while you're gone.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's no, and we didn't. To my knowledge, I don't think we had one cancellation that was due anything but, let's say, a health issue or something like that. You always have a few of those, but no, it's been quite exciting.
So let's talk a little bit about Virtuoso right now. How's business been this year in 2024? I mean, you had almost a record year in 23, and we're emerging from COVID, and we're well beyond the 2019 benchmark, if you want to call it, which was the best year, and now we're moving on. What is business still great, or is it starting to maybe cool a little bit after that revenge travel era?
No, overall, I mean, the new benchmark, excuse me, I think really is 23 now, because 23 was really the first full recovery year, which was a record-breaking year. And there's a few pockets around the world, but overall, if you look at it, I mean, we're up, 20% over last year. But it also depends on the category, right? So, for example, one of the interesting things we started tracking is $50,000 trips, right? And then we're tracking them over the next, bookings now for the next year to 2 years, because luxury is booking out further in advance as well. So basically $50,000 trips overall are up 86%. 50,000 plus trips for cruising is up 102%. And 50,000 plus trips for safaris is up 156%.
Wow!
So those are the big ticket items that you're seeing. So yeah, it's actually overall, and the ADR still, record ADRs,
and especially booked through Virtuoso. I think you have some very strong ADRs that you can book properties around the world.
Yeah, and one of the things one of the pieces of research we started doing, to basically help, to help our partners. One of the key parts of my talk yesterday was, the partners that are here are the GMs, the sales, the top salespeople, the leaders. They're the ones that actually understand the value of the advisor channel, right? So I really put my talk together as a way of providing ammunition and context for asset managers and revenue managers who still have old ideas of commission. We want non-commissionable business because it's more profitable. Well, actually, if you look at net ADR, right, meaning that you take out the expense, whatever it is, the ADR is still higher. And so one of the things, for example, that I'm trying to put out there is that for these Wall Street guys or the asset managers, that really good advisors are actually not intermediaries. They're actually an extension of a partner's sales force that you only pay. And so the whole idea is to put out there the idea that great Virtuoso advisors and travel advisors are actually part of a smart direct-to-consumer strategy.
Yeah, I saw that, Sandy. I like that.
Which makes people scratch. Wait a minute. What do you mean direct-to-consumer? Well, no, they are direct-to-consumer because they're not an OTA. They're not a. They really aren't. We are an extension of those sales forces. And so those were some of the key pieces that we wanted to do. And today, the other thing that's happening is the diversity of our advisors matches the diversity of the luxury consumer, which has exploded. Generationally, passion points, cultural, source markets. And because that diversity matches, they're able to have conversations with these customers in a very nuanced way in the language and with the mediums that they like, and therefore are able to translate a value proposition better, which actually ends up in higher spend and better ADRs.
Yeah, and that's right. And then along with that is the growth of the luxury market in terms of your customer base. You have more millionaires being created all the time. I think you pointed that out. And we're also in the midst of this kind of longevity revolution, as you just pointed out, where you have multi-generations traveling today.
Right.
Yeah, we're here. I mean, I'm here, you're here, your son's here. All these people traveling at once, which I think you pointed out, which is amazing. Right?
Yeah. And one of my favorite lines is, I remember, you think about, I remember, people telling me years ago, when the millennials arrive, they're digital natives and, they're not going to use advisors. And it's so funny because I have a standard thing that I say in some of my talks where I say, thank you, millennials. You actually helped us get back to probably the simplest definition of luxury, which is, of course I could do it myself. I don't want to. I don't think it gets any simpler than that. And by the way, I don't want to. And why would I want to if I have a really great collaborator that's fun to deal with, who adds value by their contacts and what they do, which we mix it all up, and then's got my back.
Right. No,
right? Why would I want to do that?
Well, that is amazing. So we really are on a cusp, as you've said a few times. This is really a revolution in luxury travel and revolution in travel in general, as we're seeing many more people getting on the road. But how do you think travel has changed since the pandemic in terms of what customers want? How soon they want to book. I know you had a little something about yesterday when talked booking windows and things like that, which are now starting to get back up a lot farther out, right?
Well, the problem with looking at average, there's a real problem with looking at averages in today's world because very few things actually operate on averages. So one of the things that's happening is that the planning windows for big trips has gotten longer. A lot, we've been talking about this for years, and it's really accelerating. So you have the sophisticated traveler who's looking at those really big kind of milestone trips, and they're booking them a year minimum to 2-3 years in advance. I mean, look at what's happened with luxury cruising. Mm-hmm. If you're a luxury cruise on today and you don't have your books open for, that's at least 2 years into the future, it's a real hindrance. So what they're doing is they're booking these big milestone trips, and then they're booking their kind of like the middle level ones, kind of like the old science experiment, rocks, pebbles and sand, and the middle is, and then it's the kind of the impulse purchases. Right. So that's why the average is so difficult, because two things are happening at the same time. One of them is these huge trips, and then the other is like last minute stuff. Yeah. So literally, I have people calling. I want to go to Europe. In August, whatever. I think that's another one. And then the other one is just, I was asked recently in another interview, like if there was only one word for what's happening with luxury travel, what would it be? And to me, the word is diverse. The customers are more diverse. Their needs are more diverse. The product is more diverse than it's ever been.
And more expensive. I mean, we just sit here and see all the different.
Yeah.
If you can think about a luxury hotel or a resort somewhere in the world, it's being built.
Yeah. No, so I think that's where the opportunity lies for the advisors. Is how to actually embrace that. And then the other thing that we talked about was, when you live in a world where AI is so good at making everything look real and then you don't actually know what's real, I actually feel that, look, we've always had that group of psychographic customers that just like to do their own thing. And I was asked at another interview that you were yesterday, like, what's one of the biggest challenges? And that's that there's still this issue amongst a good prospective number of great clients who actually enjoy the planning. Like, part of the planning is part of their fun. So a lot of times I think we overweight this idea, well, we're going to save you time, right? Well, save you time, if I see that time as something that I enjoy, that's not the right message. So one of the things that we all need to do is actually start thinking about how do we message to different psychological mindsets. There is an absolute group of people where that's appealing. There's another group of people that says, actually, I'll make planning travel even more fun. I'm not asking to plan it for you and go away. I want to be a collaborator with you. I want to make it more fun. I'll give you more options. Be able to, debate things and throw in something you may not have thought of. And you throw something. So I think that's the modern day, the modern day way of interacting with clients, because I have this quote that I've been saying for years, which is automate the predictable so you can humanize the exceptional. Well, automate the predictable, that's now AI. That's right. And it's gonna be,
we were talking about a long time ago,
and it's gonna be like we've never seen before. The question now becomes humanize the exceptional. What does that now mean? How do we, when we talk about human connection, which we've been talking about for decades, what does that actually mean? How do you better humanize the exceptional, right? And it can't just be, well, I give great service, right? It's got to be more nuanced and more specific than just that.
Well, and you also had some slides yesterday on your presentation about what Virtuoso travel customers value in their travel advisors, and there was a lot of stuff there. Obviously, time was there still, save time, but also experience. Really, how saving time, providing experience on destinations and accommodations. So there are reasons why your customers are going to travel advisors.
But it's. I'm glad you brought that one up. It says expertise in the destination. Well, actually, let's break that down. That doesn't mean that I don't know that doesn't just mean I know the destination, as in the place. Who I know in the destination. Right. It's like I can, getaguide.com, advertising on national TV, whatever. There's a difference between I can get a guide, but you don't know my guide. Yeah. So all these years that we've all been investing in all these relationships at Virtuoso Travel Week, at the more than 50 meetings that we're having around the world, and all the different specialization communities that we have, those relationships. So when somebody says knowledge of the destination, it's not like what you can find on the internet or what AI can say. It's the quality of our relationships, right? It's who's got my back, who do you know, and if you have that relationship, I have this other thing I always say about you can't take the human out of humanity. If you and I are friends and you're my DMC or you're my hotel friend and blah, 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 and I send you a customer, you're human. You're just going to automatically, it's going to feel different to our client.
No, and absolutely, that happens all the time. It happened yesterday to me. I was thinking about going to Paris, and I just happened to be having lunch with someone who has a Paris hotel. Yeah. And next thing you know, she said, "Well, why don't you come? I'll see if I have any room, and I can come over." Same thing, that works all the time. There's so many people here, and it really is the connection you make, whether that's at Symposium, whether that is at Virtuoso Travel Week, and that's really the most important thing. I think it's one of the greatest value of Virtuoso in period.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also one of the things that we're doing, like we've introduced some pretty massive changes to the format of Virtuoso Travel Week.
I was going to ask about that. That's coming up. That's coming up this August. Yeah. So what is going to be different this year?
Well, here's the thing. As I said yesterday in my talk, I said, I believe that the vast majority of innovation is not invention. It's actually kind of understanding how things are kind of naturally occurring, kind of how they're evolving and being able to see these things. And then how, as the world changes, how do you resequence them? How do how do you take a new capability, a new technology, a new set of language, a new psychology, and then resequence those things in a new way that adds kind of a new perceived and or real value with new language. Right. So for us, I mean, look, we basically today's the proliferation of events is well known, right? Everyone. Which is great. I mean, when we first started what is now Virtuoso Travel Week in 1988, okay, it was about how to scale those relationships. We set the standard out there. We've changed multiple times. Now what we're doing is we're looking at our events as not being one-off situations, but how do we basically connect events to being an activation in the progression of success of an individual advisor. First with overall Virtuoso sales, and then by a destination, by, let's say, a mode of travel like cruising. So you may be, a top producer overall, but maybe you're still a beginner in cruising or safaris or whatever. So we're looking at doing that. But really the main change in Virtuoso Travel Week is Virtuoso Travel Week is really almost like a city. It's not an event. I mean, we track, of the ones we can track, there are over 560 sub-events going on during that week that are not even our own events. So hospitality suites, dinners, lunches, cabanas, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And there's already ways in which people do it. So what we're doing is we're curating. We actually reduced the number of people, which has been really hard because now I know what it feels like to be the GM of a sold-out hotel during Fashion Week.
So how many people do you think you're going to have?
Well, we'll probably have a little over 4,000.
Oh, that is different because it got up to...
We cut it down by about 1,000. It was very hard to write some letters. I really apologize. Because we can add more people, but we limited the number of networking tables in the morning. But what we're doing is setting it up like a city. And then what we've done is we've curated and invited. So top producers are being invited to come instead of just register. Right. Then we have new to industry. We have core advisors that are right in the kind of the upswing of their career. So we've curated the advisors that are coming, and then we'll continue to build out so that you really have different experiences. So it's more, going to Virtuoso Travel Week is more like going to a city. If I go to New York, I don't do the same thing every single time I go to New York. Over time, and we have the scale to do so. Yeah. Will we skin our knees? I'm sure that we will, but you know what?
Well, you and I will talk. We usually have an interview at the end of Virtuoso Travel Week, and we'll see how did it go and the new format. But it is interesting that you are ratcheting it back a little bit to 4,000. It got to be about 5,000. And I said, where's the end of this? Are we going to keep on having more and more people?
Well, and I don't actually. The reality is, as I said earlier, we actually want to make sure that all of our events around the world, right, are actually an ecosystem, that they're all connected. So we have events called Virtuoso Connects that are just evening events. We have Virtuoso on Tour. So this is why we're connecting all of our event ecosystem into something that is unified rather than a one-off. So it could grow back up, but I think that in the future, it won't be 5,000 people came or 4,000 people came, whatever. It'll be 800 people came to do this. Right. 600 people came to do this. 300 people came to do this. So that everybody isn't on the same track doing the same thing.
Absolutely. Well, let's close. And last question is you're here in Dubai. It's amazing. I think I asked you, why did it take you so long to be here? Because we all knew this was really the center and one of the centers, and the entire Middle East. And you and I were in Saudi Arabia just a little over a year ago, and they're building luxury travel and a whole complex there. But the next year is going to be different. You're going to be going on a cruise ship, right?
We are. It's not our first time, but in fact, we're returning to the first symposium ever done at sea with Crystal. Right. That was 20 years ago.
Same ship, right?
No, it's the.
You were on the Symphony. Okay, but both of them, yeah. Well, and as we know, our friend Manfredi from Crystal has refurbished that ship wonderfully. I was on it. Yeah. It really is a gorgeous ship, but it's going to be interesting to be back at sea. I've been in a couple of. I wasn't at that particular one, but I've been on with when you were on with Regent years
Yep,
ago,
yep.
and here we are going to be going back to Crystal, and that has room for a few more people actually too.
You know, the one thing I'm very much looking forward to it because there's a lot of great bonding. But one of the funniest things that ever happened was that when the first time we were on Crystal, and it happened when we were on Regent and on Silver Seas, was the Italian hoteliers really, the European hoteliers really know their wines. And so you get on the ship, and you know the really nice wines are included, right? Which was a lot of hotels had never been on a cruise. Like, well, where's the bill? No, there is no bill, right? But then they saw the reserve wine list, and I remember after that first time we ever did it, they literally drank out the reserve. They because they're like, Matthew, this Barolo in Milano is 400 euros. It's like $180 on the and like, because you know they don't have the taxes on board, they don't whatever. I mean, it was a really great value. And I remember going, okay, well, the next time I negotiate a charter like this, we're going to take into account the amount of wine that's going to be bought.
Well, hopefully you'll invite me for that one next year so we can drink wine on board. But meanwhile, we'll see each other, I'm sure, a few places. And the next one is going to be Virtuoso Travel Week in Vegas, as usual. Looking forward to it. But again, this has been an amazing experience here in Dubai. We've had some amazing events. We're going to a party out in the desert tonight. We're doing some tours tomorrow. And it really is a great destination for all of this. And again, thank you again for inviting me. And great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm James Schillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.